Good day, this is Justin from the RC and Coffee YouTube channel and Facebook page. If you haven't had the opportunity to do so already, please consider supporting us by subscribing to our Facebook page and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Now, the topic of today is how to safely purchase RC vehicles or RC parts through online marketplaces. We'll talk about Aliexpress, eBay, Amazon, and Banggood. And we'll mostly refer to Amazon as a point of reference because that's an outlet that everybody understands and knows. Now, Amazon is somewhat in the middle of the spectrum. So if you picture a spectrum, you'd essentially have Aliexpress and eBay on one end, and you would probably have Banggood on the completely other end, and you have Amazon in the center. The reason why it's in the center is because Amazon has a very, very strong brand identity, yet it enables vendors to sell on their marketplace, create their own branding. But however, what needs to be understood is that those vendors are subjected to a long list of rules. Intellectual property is being considered. Therefore, the niche products have a tendency to not make their place into or find themselves into the Amazon marketplace because it would simply be illegal to sell them. That is not the case for AliExpress. That is not the case for eBay. And sometimes it's also not the case for Banggood. Now, the good thing with Amazon is that everything being centralized under one roof, even though you have different vendors, Amazon takes care of the quality control by going through a very strenuous process of vetting those vendors. If you have an issue with a product, Amazon is very consumer-centric and has the ability to help you out with that. That is, even though you do not have the ability to use other means of protection, such as PayPal, which could be an issue. Amazon is still considered a very safe place to buy. However, the choice isn't there, and that is the reason why today I'm going to be focusing on AliExpress, Banggood, and eBay. Now, what has to be understood is that those three other marketplaces do not play by the same rules. On one end, you have, as I said, you have AliExpress and eBay. Those are basically huge marketplaces on which vendors, small vendors, have the ability to sell their products. What has to be understood is that those vendors, as I said, are very small. And oftentimes they are literally virtual storefronts. They do not exist. There's no brick and mortar place where you can go. It's simply, sometimes they don't even have an office. It is simply a virtual store. In terms of quality control, because they're not bound by the same rules and intellectual property as Amazon, they have the ability to sell parts that you couldn't find anywhere else. However, your ability to buy that same part again from the same vendor, or to buy a full truck and have support on said vehicle is not guaranteed, and this is why you need to be careful. Now, I'm always a big fan of websites that enable you to use PayPal as a protection. I prefer PayPal from the independent protection of return policy of online marketplaces, such as, for instance, even Amazon, because PayPal protects your transaction. It doesn't protect the good. It's the transportation of said good from one place to another. It's simply the transaction. Is it here? Is it there? Is it what it was supposed to be? And for those who haven't noticed, you can actually put in the description when you do a PayPal transaction what you want, how the transaction has to be done. You can do multiple payments, and you can really tailor that in a way that reflects the true nature of the transaction and the true nature of the product that you're purchasing. However, PayPal doesn't protect custom items, and that's something to keep in mind. However, I'm in Canada, and North Americans have a tendency to value customer service. It's in our roots, so whether you're in Canada, whether you're in the United States, and that's why I believe we're slightly more inclined to purchase from big box stores. Canada, we have great hobbies. You guys in the States have Tower Hobbies, A-Main, RC4L Drive, etc. But the problem is that some vehicles that you may be interested in are simply not listed on these sites, and individual parts to repair or spare parts to repair those vehicles may not even be purchased on these websites. So that brings you to the Asian offering, which is AliExpress or Banggood, or non-Asian, which is eBay. How do you safely purchase from these three? Well, eBay, you have PayPal. So as a vendor, as our seller rather, you can put into your payment description what it is that you're buying. You can request the vendor to put that description. You can vet it yourself before the transaction goes through to make sure that you're really receiving what it is that you're getting. In the case of AliExpress, unfortunately, you cannot buy using PayPal. You have to use their own system. They do have a return policy, but it's really worth reading through. It's a 3-day return policy. It's completely vendor-centric, which is the complete opposite of North American companies, and it makes it really difficult to get your money back in case of an issue. The first thing that I would recommend when you try to buy from these sites may sound counterintuitive, but it's to actually look if the big box stores sell those products. I'll give you a concrete example. RC four-wheel drive. RC four-wheel drive used to sell a truck called the Desert Runner Hero. It's a very nice rendition of the Ford Raptor. That truck is no longer being sold by RC four-wheel drive, although it is available on Asia Tees, as well as numerous vendors on AliExpress. So if you were to buy a truck like this, the first time, or a vehicle like this, the first question to ask yourself is, who manufactured the product? What's the brand? What's the real brand behind it? RC four-wheel drive is just a distributor. That is not the brand. So you need to dig deeper and find out who's behind. In this case, it's either, they have multiple names, JD Customs, JD Models, and you realize that this company is Asian. So then you wonder, okay, well, you ask yourself, where are these JD Customs, JD Models products being sold on, which platforms and which vendors? You will find yourself on AliExpress very soon, and you will find yourself on some very reputable or less reputable vendors page. I'll start with the very reputable one. There is a vendor on AliExpress that is very well known in the heavy machinery community. The name of the company is Eagle Mac, so eaglemachinery.net. Everybody that's dealt with them they have stellar reviews. It's as simple as that. What I do, I look on RC four-wheel drive, assuming that RC four-wheel drive was still selling that truck, and I check on the Eagle Mac website. Why? Because RC four-wheel drive most likely get their part from Eagle Mac. So you need to know that the manufacturer behind it, or at least the distributor to the distributor, has spare parts, is still selling the vehicle, and that gives you another layer of certainty in your product. The other question that I would ask, and this time to the distributor, in this case Eagle Mac, do you offer spare parts? Now, Eagle Mac is a great company, never had issues, they do have spare parts, but what I've noticed in the past when trying to communicate with vendors on AliExpress is that if you ask this question, they'll either answer that the vehicle won't break, or that they will service it or sell you parts when it breaks. Do not take this as a win. It's absolutely not the case. You need to ask a second question. Pick a random part in the vehicle, random one, like sway bars, torsion bars, axle, and ask them for a quote. You will be surprised of the number of negative response that you'll be getting. Those companies, those vendors will not support their trucks. So you need to find a bunch of them that do support it so that you can make an informed and a safe purchase. That's the very important step that I would recommend that you do with those companies. First question is, do you support spares? If the answer is yes, be specific. What about this random part there? And they will most likely ask you to take pictures, and then they will basically send you other pictures to make sure that that's exactly what you guys are talking about, the same thing. And you'll know in the end whether it's a vendor that is worth buying from or not. Now, there's not a huge list that itemizes those vendors. And with regards to that, I will be putting together the equivalent of the good and the bad list for AliExpress vendors in order for us, RC vehicle and parts buyers, to have a place to go to ask questions and to see what other people's experience have been using those vendors. So that's with regards to AliExpress. With regards to Banggood, Banggood is the complete opposite. They're completely centralized. They sell under the Banggood banner. It's therefore a bit easier to get your monies back if there's an issue, because their reputation is on the line instead of an individual buyer or seller rather under the banner of AliExpress, like it is the case for AliExpress and eBay. eBay and AliExpress do not represent those vendors. They're simply the umbrella under which those sellers sell. In the case of Banggood, it is Banggood. So you have a bit more protection there. And also you can use PayPal. So you have a double protection, which I like. You may not have the same amount of choice. You may not be able to get into the niche, really niche parts, but Banggood has a ton of options, parts, different configurations. What's interesting with Asian companies is that they'll also sell the same vehicles that you'll find in North American big box store or online stores. However, they'll package it differently. For instance, they'll have a ready-to-run option that you'll never have, say on Asia Tees, even though it's an Asian company, they have a US depot. They will have, or completely the opposite, they'll have a kit for something that is usually sold ready to run. So it's really interesting to shop around and see what they have to offer. And oftentimes what you'll notice, the ready to run options are actually cheaper. Oddly enough, I'm not sure why, they're cheaper than the kits. So now let's talk a little bit about eBay. eBay is different. It's a bit I'd say that the quality control with regards to eBay is, it's relatively weak. Let's just put it this way. However, because you can use PayPal, it's safe enough. For some reason, I also find that eBay sells at a much higher price than what you'd find on AliExpress, and I have noticed that the sellers on AliExpress oftentimes have stores on eBay and sell on eBay at a premium. I'm not sure why, but that's something that I've noticed on numerous occasions. So needless to say, eBay is not necessarily my favorite, my favorite store. I don't find that the volume of the choice is really where it should be compared to the other two. But the fact that you can use PayPal is a really good one. What I also like about dealing with AliExpress and eBay is that you can negotiate. You have some leeway. Unlike Amazon, you can contact directly the vendor and say, hey, I'm buying 2 of these, 3 of these, or I'm a repeat buyer. Can you please, do a discount or sell within X amount of days? That is something that's really interesting. You can really tailor your buying experience to your needs, which is obviously something that you wouldn't be able to do with Banggood or Amazon. Now let's talk a little bit about quality control of Asian companies. In order to talk about quality control, we need to understand how their distribution is done and how their manufacturing is done. The way that Asian companies function, they come up with a product, but they're very price driven with regards to the manufacturer that they use for the parts in a product. So for instance, you buy a loader, or an RC loader, and the first batch is flawless, it's fantastic, nothing breaks, great report, great reviews. Then they have good success, and the company who sells those and probably maybe even designs those decides to go with a different company that sells gears at a cheaper rate. So they put those new gears in, sell the second batch, and oh, there's a failure on the gears. They realize, they go back to the first manufacturer of gears, and they continue. The third batch, they realize that the ASC can be produced at a cheaper cost with another company, so they go to that other company. So essentially you end up having a bunch of batches of vehicles that have a very inconsistent quality. I'm not saying that overall the quality is bad, I'm just saying that it's very difficult for us consumers to track the quality because the manufacturer tends to change. So it's very complex. So really what you want to do when you buy from those outlets, you want to check the reviews, you want to talk to people and see what their experience with the stores have been, and fundamental question, always ask what's the parts availability on a vehicle. That probably should be the first question to ask, because you're in the RC world, things break all the time. The minimum is that you're able to break what's going to inevitably, to fix what's going to inevitably break and have access to those parts. So I hope that this review has been informative to you. If you have questions, please don't hesitate in the comment below. And as I said, I'll be putting together the equivalent of the good and the bad for vendors on AliExpress, maybe even on eBay. And that way we'll be able to have a go-to place where we can have those conversations and know who to go to and who to not go to. Thank you very much. If you liked this video, please subscribe, and please subscribe to our Facebook channel, Facebook page as well. Thank you very much.